How you doing, family? Welcome to another Bantu-Morpheus video. Today is December 28th, okay, in 2021. And I'm gonna start out this session by reading a book I recently purchased from Dr. John Henry Clarke. And his book is about Cheikh Anta Diop, who was one of our premier anthropologists, scientists, spoke 7 languages, an African, and his country was invaded and colonized by the French, so he spoke French. And the book is called African History, Cheikh Anta Diop and the New Light on African History. And it was written by Dr. John Henry Clarke, another one of our premier historians and ancestors at this point, both Cheikh Anta Diop and Dr. Clarke. I'm gonna start right out at the point where Dr. Clarke is talking about what he knew about the history of what Africa brought to the Greeks and the Romans. So he starts out here. Both the Greek and it says Roman history is Greek as well as Roman, and both the Greek and the Roman histories are Egyptian, because the entire Mediterranean was civilized Egypt, and Egypt in turn borrowed from other parts of Africa, especially Ethiopia. Okay, so we're gonna nip this Egypt nonsense in the bud, because the Egyptians are trying to claim that there's some Hyksos, these brown-skinned, light-looking white Euro Hyksos that came out of the Caucasus Mountains and out of the east over there. And they're trying to claim that Egypt was some Euro-centric nonsense, which is absolute nonsense. And this book just puts it to light. This is old information from 40 years ago, but still, I'm gonna read it to you guys. I know you probably never heard this before. Africa came into the Mediterranean world mainly through Greece, okay? The first Greek invasion of Africa was peaceful and scholarly. This invasion brought in Herodotus. Egypt had lost its independence over a century before, 100 years before this visit, okay? This was the beginning of the period of foreign domination over Egypt that would last for 2,000 years. This is 2021, okay? And this invasion lasted 2,000 years, okay? Dr. Diop calls attention to the archaeological and anthropological evidence that supports his thesis. The civilization of Egypt, he maintains, is African in origin and in early development. Now he goes on to say, I'm only reading you the highlighted parts. This book, by the way, is only 30 pages long, okay? And this is called, this is Dr. John Henry Clarke wrote this, okay? That's what I'm reading you from, okay? Now let's get into what Cheikh Anta Diop, our great anthropological scientist, has said. The history of Africa will remain suspended in air and cannot be written correctly until African historians connect it with the history of Egypt. The African historians the African historians who evades the problem of Egypt is neither modest or objective. He is ignorant, cowardly, and neurotic. Okay, here, let's get into the meat of this. That's what he's saying about African historians that don't do what he's suggesting, that you make that connection of Egypt as African. Here's how he does it. And this is John Henry Clark speaking now. This is not Chick Anthony. The Ethiopians say that the Egyptians were one of their colonies, which was brought into Egypt by the deity Osiris. The Greek writer Herodotus repeatedly referred to the Egyptians as being dark-skinned people with woolly hair. Ain't no Europeans got they're not dark-skinned, and they damn sure don't have no woolly hair. Okay, they, he says, have the same tint of skin which approaches that of Ethiopians. And the word Ethiopian means people of burnt skin. I want to be very clear. So another historian, what do you call it? He's an ancient writer on Egyptian, is more or less summed up by the opinion of the ancient writers of Egyptians is summed up more or less by this guy, Gaston Maspero, some Roman, Italian. Now, he wrote this back, he lived between 1846 and 1916, okay? When he says, by the almost unanimous testimony of ancient historians, they, the Egyptians, belong to an African race, which first settled in Ethiopia on the Middle Nile. Following the course of the river, they gradually reached the sea. Africans. Okay. Now, Dr. Clark says this: Herodotus may be mistaken, Sheikh Anta Diop tells us, when he reports the customs of the people, but one must grant that he was at least capable of recognizing the skin color. He's talking about Herodotus. Sheikh Anta Diop is talking about Herodotus, okay? At least he must have been capable of recognizing the skin color of the inhabitants of countries he visited, right? And then it says his description of the Egyptians were the descriptions of a black people. Again, Herodotus, black people, Ethiopians, which means people of burnt skin. Okay, Herodotus's visit to Egypt and other parts of Africa between 480 and 225 BC. This is not after AD. This is before, 400 years, folks, before this Christian era, CE, BCE, okay? Africa, between 400 and 225. Egypt's golden age was already over. Egypt's golden age, it means the best they could be, the best they could muster up, was over already by 480 to 425 BC. So look at the numbers, look at the way the numbers go. The numbers go down because everything from before BC or before the Christian era, BC Christian, this is when they start their crap. 480 years between that and 425 BC, the Egyptian golden age was already, so the Sphinx has been built, all of the the pyramids hadn't been built. The freaking Greeks and the Romans, savages, came in and started chipping away at the damn pyramids, thinking there was some gold, and some had some gold leafing on it, and they were so desperate to find such barbaric animals, they thought they were getting something. But the golden age of Egypt, when the Africans and the Ethiopians set it up, it was just a colony. It was just an offshoot of Ethiopia. That's what Egypt was. It wasn't called Egypt. They called it Kemet. Okay, but the Ethiopians had already set everything up. They just came and built on top of that. This is how powerful our ancestors are. Not were, are now. Okay? So he goes on to say Egypt had suffered from several invasions, mainly the Kushites, more Africans, invasions coming from within Africa, and starting in 751 BC, before the Common Era, and the Assyrians, more Africans, okay, oh no, actually, the Assyrians invasions from Western Asia. Now, this is when the beginning of the pink people come from Western Asia, okay? These are the Arabs, the straight-haired, pink, light-skinned people that took over Egypt now and think they Egyptians. No such damn thing. They're Assyrians, okay? Invasions from Western Asia called the Middle East, okay? Which at one point had also been a colony of Ethiopia, by the way. But you got to go back thousands of years to get to when the Ethiopians had dominated and migrated all throughout, even what they call Saudi Arabia and all that stuff. All of that was Ethiopia. Just to show y'all, this is how far back we go back from dominating. And really, it was a dominance in the sense that we had the best technology. They had to come to us. Everybody, everywhere, everybody that came in contact, we had the best. We had already mastered the stars, mastered navigation, mastered navigating the seas. We had mastered all math, algebra. That is already a name that has the name of a Assyrian that they put on it, that they got from the Ethiopians, had already had all that together. Johnny come latelys, folks. Johnny come lately. Let me blast you with some numbers here. Look at here. From the Africans starting in 751 BC. Okay, again, the Egyptian golden age was already over by 480. But look, and there's another thing I want to bring out to your attention. Check out these numbers, family. Check it out. Look at these numbers. You're talking about African the Kushites invading Egypt, which was ran by Ethiopia and wasn't even called Egypt at that time. By the way, wasn't called Egypt at that time. Didn't become Egypt until like 19 something, 18, 16 something, crap like that, just recently. This is like, forget it. Back then it was called Kemet, and before that, we don't know what the Ethiopians called it. They might have called it Kush or something, whatever they want to call it. And that's in the books here. I don't remember what it is, but it's already been written, documented, okay? But look at these numbers here. Look here. They started attacking from within Africa in 751 BC. If you do 751 to 480, America is a lousy, stinking, filthy, jive-ass 200 years as of 1970, 76 and 76, and now another 50 years, which the bastards finally started giving African Americans civil rights for the last 50 years. Listen, when I tell you America ain't great, when you hear about real great real great countries. That's what I'm trying to tell y'all. When you don't know nothing, you believe the BS from their Bible and all of their other lying ass history books, because they trying to pump themselves up. Because when you don't have nothing, you gotta lie about yourself. You gotta lie about the people that are 1,000 times better than you. You gotta lie about them to their own people to make them make you sound like you actually did something. And really, you ain't shit. Okay? So here we go. And starting in 751 BC and the Assyrian invasion from Western Asia, called the Middle East, started in 671. Another 60-something years later, BC. So if Egypt, after years of invasion by other people and nations, was a distinct African nation at the time of Herodotus, shouldn't we at least assume that it was more so before these invasions occurred? Now, this is Dr. Clark asking a basic common sense question, family. Critical thinking skills. That's all this is. We're looking at things from a critical thinking perspective, okay? And I just wanted to give you that little snippet. I didn't read. I read up to this point, up to page 19, okay? And Dr. Clark had blasted me with so many different things, and I just wanted to give you that, just to give you a little bit of context when you start hearing these jive-ass Americans talking about how great America is. Oh, please. Oh, please. A lousy 200 years of murder, slaughter, ripping people's children, raping women, raping men, boys, girls, babies, everything. Filthy, low-down animals. That's what America is ran by now. Look at the murder rate. Look at the raping that they're doing to their own people. We ain't even get into what they're doing to Africans, African Americans. Just look at what they're doing to their own women. Murdering and raping is basic, to the point where now even the Supreme Court is telling women, if you get, they didn't even consider. This is 2021 in December, family. And the Supreme Court, that filthy, rotten bastard of a Russian plant that was put in to the American presidency for the last 4 years before Biden took over and restored the country back to at least the civilized age, okay? He put 3 barbarians on that Supreme Court. Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, and now Amy Coney Barrett. Dumb broad. She was the one who said, oh, well, if the children, if the women are raped by their father, which they didn't even consider that. But point is, she's saying that they got a baby they don't want, they don't need to have abortions. She could just have the baby, risk dying from childbirth, especially if you're 12 years old and you've been raped by your daddy at 11. And you're 12 years old and she forcing you to have an 8-9 pound baby and you barely big enough to pee. And Amy Coney Barrett, dumb barbarian bitch, had the nerve. This is what that filthy thing Trump put on the Supreme Court. Had the gall to sit there and say, oh, well, she could just put the baby up for adoption. So they don't need to worry about They don't really need abortion, but we'll turn it back to the states. Let the states do whatever they want. We want to be neutral. This is what Kavanaugh said. We want to be neutral. We don't want to make any decision. Let that be handled by legislation. This is their new con job that they're going to try to get out. They want to take abortion away from women because they see that the quote unquote white people are dropping like flies and they're can't have baby. We out babying their asses between the Hispanics and the Africans. We are out babying their asses in leaps and bounds. And they see that the browning of America is no longer a theory. It is a hard fact, especially after the last census, which just happened in 2020. And Trump tried to stop that short because he didn't want the African numbers to get correctly and accurately reported. So they're pulling out the stops. I told you, they have to cheat to win. When you crawl out a cave, you're ugly, you stink, you're nasty, you're a barbarian, you're a cannibal. And you just crawled out the caves 10,000 years ago. I'm telling you about Egyptian history that lasted 2,000 years. 2,000 years, and these bastards, and that's before they crawled out the caves. We're talking about way back. I'm talking about 3,000, what is it? Oh, it's some massive number. It's a massive number. 20,000 years before they even started crawling out of the caves. Ethiopia had already mastered mathematics, arithmetic, algebra, geometry, geology, anthropology. The pyramids were already built. The goddamn Sphinx is so old, they can't even date the damn thing. That's how old it is. And these stupid racist bastards or white supremacists are trying to claim from Greece and from Europe. Well, since we don't know what it is, it must have been some aliens. Aliens must have built the Sphinx. Couldn't have been Africans mastering the Stone Age. See, that's our Stone Age. Their Stone Age is crawling out of the caves with a club in their hand, beating a woman over here, dragging her by the hair. That's their Stone Age. That ain't ours. Ain't got nothing to do with us. That's them. Okay? Just want to be clear. Want to be clear, let y'all know who you're dealing with. That's how filthy these things are. Okay? Let's go back and let's deal with some of Professor Carver's stuff. And what I want to tell y'all about here is I want you to look at the time periods, the years, the devastating. I mean, the years are devastating. How many tens of thousands of years where Africans have developed all of these sciences and had universities already built. Sankore is still the last surviving university that the damn filthy Romans haven't destroyed because of their shame of nothingness. Nebulous nothingness and savagery is all they can chuck up and add to their history books of what they may have accomplished. Everything else, they stole, they raped, and they robbed from the Africans. Because when you crawl out of a cave and you haven't done a damn thing, that's what you have to do. And to this very day, even the damn Russians are still trying to rob and take land from the Ukrainians. Why? Because Ukraine is right there by the water. They got a port. Russia, if you look at the map and you see how far Russia is, you will see Russia is so damn far up in the north where the Caucasus Mountains and all that stuff is. Ain't no damn water up there. And what water there is damn near frozen. Well, now that the global warming is kicking back in, now they actually have some water they might be able to use, but you don't see nobody fishing up there in the Antarctic, in the Arctic Circle. Arctic is up here, Anti is on the bottom. You don't see nobody fishing up there. Big time, not happening, okay? Nobody wants to go up there. So that's why they got to come down south and try to steal some land from somebody that's near the water. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to go back to Professor Kaba's book. Okay, we're going to go back to this book here. Okay, this is Professor Kaba's book. All right, Spirituality Before Religion. That's where I'm reading from now. Now, Professor Kaba is so heavy, where we left off last time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you, I'm going to hold your hand and walk you through some pages of this stuff. And we're going to think critically. And I'm going to make any kind of references that I need to make in order to flesh out some of the things I was telling you about in the last video. Let's see what Professor Kaba's got here for us. Okay, I left off where we talked about that you can't separate the intrinsic intuitive intelligence of the micro God that you are and I am, that we are. Okay, the micro being. I'm gonna leave it at that because the same micro God scares the hell out of these cowardly Christians. So I don't use that word in case any of y'all have remnants of that kind of brainwashing still left over. I don't want to shock you and send you into some kind of traumatic what they call Stockholm syndrome, capture bonding, and you know, that all of that. Okay, so I want to talk to you about that. We have to be very clear about this, and I want to refine some of the things I said about, because I've done a lot more meditating and reading on this particular subject of this extrinsic and intrinsic that Professor Kaba talks about. And all he's really saying is he's talking about the difference between the intuitive intelligence and the instinctive intelligence of the form world, of this form vehicle here, which is the how of this vehicle. That it just really, and I want to clarify this about the instinctive intelligence of the human form. The instinctive intelligence of the human form, in my meditations, I felt it's more appropriate for me to explain it to you this way. If you know anything about computers, each computer has an operating system. What an operating system does is it basically turns the lights on, keeps them on, sets the clock, sets the speed and how fast the movement of of everything that moves through the flow of program bits and bytes of program data, zeros and ones. Okay, that's what an operating system does. We have gone from Windows 7 to 10, and now they're shooting for 11. Okay, and I'm running this computer on 10. So what does that mean? So now we're working on a Windows platform, and Windows is, again, the basic operating system that has been transformed into graphic user interfaces. So now all you have to do is click on a hot link or a picture, and what that does is it actually runs a program that they call a script, or we used to call it batch commands. In other words, it runs a batch of commands that have already been pre-programmed. And now they have so advanced with this stuff, they're using C++ and all these other different compilers that does all of this stuff and compiles it. So now they can do things thousands of times faster than we used to do when we used to do basic programming back in 1973, 74, 75. Okay, that's when I started with the VIC-20. I finally got my dates right. And so that's what the instinctive intelligence does in the human form. It is an extremely sophisticated version of that. And what it does is it keeps the lights going, it keeps everything running until a program has to be run. And the programs that are ran, that operating system sets up the base, okay, and then you run the program on top of that. And that program takes up the rest. And so your base, or your desktop, and the base program operating system is the foundation, and everything else runs on top of that. So if you turn on a program, say you want to run, and also Microsoft comes with some basic built-in programs, like file management programs that I use here to show you different things. Now I'm going to also use Microsoft PowerPoint, which is a program that runs on top of the basic stuff. Well, those your visions and your thoughts that you are projecting into the mind space, okay, is a program, okay? And when you don't project things, since you have allowed this instinctive intelligence to run this thing, it starts making up programs based on what it picks up into these eyes and the ears, and what it smells, and what it tastes, and what it feels. It uses those 5 senses, and they will trigger reactions. And if you grow to be 21, and the first 3 phases of human development, which is really 7, I used to think it was 5, but it goes all the way up to 40 something. It really goes up before you really finish mentally growing. Physically growing, you usually wrap that up at 21, between 21 and 28, you physically finish growing. But then you got to go to 35, and then you got to go to 42 after that, and maybe another 7 after that, and get you to 49. And by 49, between 42 and 49, now the veil of parakeet really should be completely lifted, and you will realize the ultimate truth is that you are a infinite spiritual being that never dies, having a human experience through a human body. Okay? That's the ultimate truth that will be revealed to you, usually at about between 42 and 49, even if you have no training or anything else. But before that, I don't care how much money you have. I don't care how much fame you get. Ask Whitney Houston, ask Michael Jackson, ask Prince. If you could, they would tell you, I don't care how much money I had, how much fame I had, I could never be happy because I never knew what I was, and I was never told how all of this stuff works and why I'm alive, my purpose for living. And also what causes them to be also pretty miserable is that as famous people, you're in a prison. You become a prisoner of your fame because now you can't walk down the street. You have no freedom at all. My aunt Esther Evans was the star of Good Times, which ran for years, and still runs in syndication all over the place. She was a prisoner. Whenever she wanted to go anywhere, she had to ask me or one of the big men in the family to go with her to keep the people off of her. Going to restaurants was almost impossible. People would come over, start talking over her food, spitting and carrying on. And after 30, 20, 10, 15, 20 years, 30 years of this, she was so jaded, just really, really violated, and had no sense of freedom. And she was like always tortured. To think about going out was something she never wanted to do. But she loved coming to my grandmother's house, which was her favorite sister, Rosanna Carter. You'll see pictures of them. I'll show you pictures of them. And that she was her favorite because my grandmother was also an actress and had her own a small little series running on PBS. And she lived down on 42nd Street, 9th Avenue. And so it was easy for my aunt to be comfortable in that building because the building was filled with actors and actresses. Okay, so she always wanted to go there and hang out with my grandmother on 42nd and 9th Avenue. Okay, so I know what it's like and what the kind of things that can destroy a person's happiness and joy. Where money, no matter how much money you have, it won't do anything. But the other thing that really can guarantee you pretty much happiness and joy, no matter where you are, is one, if you understand what you are as an infinite being, that's going to remove the terror and the lies and the filth from their Bible that is designed to bog your mind down and help make you run out of time and pray and be bowing and kneeling down to the white imagery of their God that's subliminally planted in your mind after all of these movies of the Christ story, still white dude, right? Every Christ story you ever seen still has a white dude, and the connotation of a white dude as Jesus that all the black people on the planet in America are praying to, if he's white, then his father absolutely must be white. And see, that's the subliminal brainwashing con job that they're putting into your head for everybody who's supporting that religion. You're worshiping their white God that they created out of the information and stuff that they got from our Greek ancestors. They twisted and warped the truth into a fashion or a version that their King James ordered written. Their King James, he told them, you better write this. Anybody that mess up, send you to the lions and they rip you up in the Colosseum. Okay? Even though King James was some damn a Spaniard or some whatever. Don't matter. Just barbarians anyway. But the thing is, so when you Stockholm syndrome, mind bent suck-ups, African American suck-ups in that cult called Christianity, you still believe in their version of their God. And remember, the subconscious machine don't give a damn what you mean to do. It looks at what you do and what you think, and subconsciously you are worshiping a white God. And conversely, trivializing your own ancestry and your own internal power source, because you're turning it all over to Jesus and to some God somewhere who's going to let you into a heaven that doesn't exist, or threaten you with a hell that doesn't exist, or and let you know you better hurry up and worship Jesus and me, God. Because remember, the world is any minute now is getting ready to go up in a ball of flame that you're praying. So you say, hurry up, come on, let's get this world a burn so we can hurry up and go with Jesus. And he's gonna take us up to heaven and let us to the gate with our God. Damn fools. You got to get out from underneath all that stupidity, family. You got to. Okay, let me go on to here and let's look at what Professor Kaba says here. He says we live in an external existence that is neither created life nor destroyed death or destroyed. Okay, existence exists because existence has always existed. Okay, even before the beginning began, all forms of life are connected in the time-space continuum. Okay? In this continuum, time is eternal and space is everywhere. And when we perform libation, there is a thunderous call from the heavens. Now, well, there's no scientific, when that, and the fact, the thunderous call he's talking about is a metaphor for basically saying that you're projecting a vision and a thought into the subconscious machine that's supposed to bring you some good fortune because you're honoring the memory of our ancestors by doing this libation ceremony. But again, it's always about getting you. It always comes back to you. You to believe that this is what's happening. And in your mind, you fashion a vision to support that idea. It's just an idea, and it's a harmless one. It totally, I wouldn't mind it. I think it's a good thing because it means you're trying to do something good. You know, no harm there, I don't think, but I want you to be scientific and critically thinking about what you're doing. All right, so you keep the credit where it belongs. You. Okay, you're still not giving any credit, you know, to the ancestors, except as an acknowledgement, which the ancestors is you. It was you back then manifesting through flesh, through the human vehicle. It's form. It's still you. It's just maybe a more evolved a micro being. Okay, maybe more evolved, and you've come back a few 100,000 times now. So they were smarter and they knew how to manipulate and record their achievements. And that's what history is all about, and education is all about, and writing is all about, and documentation of your accomplishments. The reason we do that is to give this information back to ourselves when we come back. And that's why the Europeans hurry up and they tried to do a number with this and put that Bible in front of you so they can send you off on a tangent over a lie and have you thinking about some nebulous fairy tales that you're not thinking critically. And so you lose your step, you lose your progress, and you get lost in a sea of nebulous garbage. And once they get you that way, now they can open your head up like a jarhead. They used to talk about Marines, open your head up, throw anything in there, and you'll go for it because of Stockholm syndrome, because of terror, because of fear. That's what trauma. That's what mental trauma is worse than physical trauma, because mental trauma is hard. You can't put your finger on it. It's metaphysical. It's not physical. So those are the harder ones to deal with, and they know that. And they do not believe anything they're saying to you. They don't believe it. They know it's a damn lie. Why would Trump, the master lying, filthy bastard, why would he hold a Bible if it was good? There's nothing good about Donald Trump. He's an evil psychopath. And his niece, who is a psychologist, told you that. He's a psychopath. That a psychopath is a micro being that is trapped in a form, a human form that has been allowed to get completely and totally out of control. So the person that named that thing Donald Trump, that body form Donald Trump, the spirit that animated that form when it was born was trapped from the day one because Donald Trump's father was a filthy, low-down scumbag. And you ask anybody that knew him, they told you that. He was cheap, he was a miser, and he was a psychopath. And he was a white supremacist, neo-Nazi. And so was Donald Trump's grandfather, who was a coward, who ran from Germany when the war started and tried to go back, and the Germans said, get the hell out of here. You're a coward. So Donald Trump has coward and a yellow streak built into his DNA. That's why he has 5 military deferments, because he is a coward and a punk ass. And that's his form. Now, the micro being, the aspect of the macro being that animated that form, you can't win them all. We're making sausage here. The micro beings are trying to come through these forms to make this world better. But every now and again, you get a psychopath. You get a person who is born into a body that is so filthy and DNA contaminated and psychopathic that you can't work with that. Best thing to do is kill the body, save the soul. That's where the phrase comes from. Kill the body, save the soul. Ain't no hope of ever getting anything. And that Christian Bible tells you that shit. You can, it's never give up. There's something you got to give up on. Psychopaths, psychopathic murders and sociopathic killers. You hurry up and give up. Give them the needle. Don't waste no money feeding them bastards. Put the needle in them. Get rid of them. Free the soul. The soul is the intuitive intelligence that has no hope of gaining any control over the instinctive intelligence of that corrupted, twisted, demented body. Nothing you can do with it, family. Nothing you can do with it. You got to learn that. It's not about being cold. It's about saving time. And African Americans, if you don't hurry up and get rid of that damn Bible, before you know it, you're going to run out of time. And that's what it's designed to do. So you wind up spending the bulk of your life worshiping a fake deity that ain't real. You're not even worshiping a deity. Let me say this differently, because that whole deity thing is nothing but ideology. It's a conceptual idea that people create in order to be able to have something to focus on that's positive, because you have never learned to use your own ability to codify ideas and create your own constructive, comprehensive strategy of developing a roadmap that will guide the forward motion and progress of your own life based on the ideology that you create for yourself. And that ideology will have a rhythmic, comprehensive, built-in patterns that will help you to set aside time to do things at this point, to do things at that point, and do things at that point, and do things at that point. And you have recreation where you do no thinking and you just go out and you have fun. And then that's your routine, and you will follow that cycle of routines repeatedly until you accomplish the different goals that you have set for yourself. And all of that takes time both to develop and to exercise and to run that pattern and run that program until you accomplish your goals. And then you go and you add new goals and things and visions and things that of beauty and accomplishment and joy that you want for yourself. That's what you're supposed to be doing. You're not supposed to be worshiping a Jesus somewhere and all of this crap. That's wasting your time. And they should have taught you this in school, but you have the books. We have the Professor Kaba. We have all of the scholars that can, when you throw the Bible out, You grab these books and they will give you clear instruction. And the history that we have from the past is going to tell you the mistakes we've made and how you can pick up and get you. This is your roadmap that you wrote to yourself so that you don't have to reinvent the wheel from scratch all over again with every lifetime. That's why these books are written, so you don't have to start all over again. And you certainly don't waste your time with the fictitious fairy tales in a book that is so damn thick, that thick. By the time you try to read through all of that, your whole life is over. And when you move into your next life, you'll have no memory of the time you wasted in this lifetime. Although time doesn't really exist for us, but we want to get to having fun and having a positive and joyful life. And the way you're going to do that is by stop wasting your time doing nebulous nonsense that gets you nothing. Okay? That's the goal of my movies, is to get you using the law of attraction, and Rhonda Byrne's book and Neville Goddard, and get you to making what you need to be making for yourself. Okay? Professor Kaba talks about some other heavy things in here. And let me see if I can get you back on track. Okay, I'm gonna skip down and we're gonna finally leave page 2. Finally leave page 2. It says some other things in here on this page. Here they talk about Cheikh Anta Diop's goal. It said, Cheikh Anta Diop said this about the historian consciousness of the African people. We must restore the historical consciousness of the African people. The awakened Africans would then create a new African reality and be a major factor in rescuing the world, okay, from the pessimistic prospects facing the world as a result of the flaws in the scientific worldview, which now prevails and dominates the consciousness of the intellectual community. He goes on to say the basic task in this regard is the establishment of this idea as a fact in the African world's plural consciousness, and as a note that African worlds, which is possessive of the consciousness of the African world, okay, and as a working scientific concept, okay, that's what he says. So what I'm doing here is, and that's Cheikh Anta Diop, and be honest with you, I stumbled onto that just now. I had read this a while back, and I read this piece to you on Diop from Dr. John Henry Clarke, and I didn't even realize that the next thing I was going to read to you in the book is Diop. See, so, and this is Kaba Kameni. This is not even John Henry Clarke. And I mean, I ordered this book yesterday, a day before yesterday, and it came today. This book on that Cheikh Anta Diop's work by John Henry Clarke. See, and I'm not planning this, folks. This is unscripted. I'm just putting this together as it's coming to me off the top of my head. And I'm reading you just highlighted points in here that I think is important to you. And I want to go over it and give you my critical analysis, okay, on the things that I'm reading to you. Okay, let's go on here. In Spirituality Before Religion from Professor Kaba Kameni. Making an optional scientific concept of Kemet's blackness, both biologically and culturally, is the summation of Diop's methodology. Dr. Diop believed that only a rigorous, scientifically verifiable argument could accomplish this task. The reliability of honest scientific procedures cannot be questioned. Therefore, only scientific proof should convert African people to the truth. Scientific, okay? Sheikh Anta Diop says this. Our top anthropological scientists, okay? In addition, only scientifically based investigation can guarantee that the necessary ideas are authentic. Again, validation through science, and the best science that we can pull together, okay? We invoke the work of Dr. Asa G. Hilliard III, Nana Bafwa Aman Kwatia, another prolific African scholar. I had the honor of knowing and working alongside Dr. Asa G. Hilliard III. His other name is Nana Bafwa Aman Kwatia. In Broward County in Broward County, family, this is Baba Kaba Khamenei's telling you where he worked with Asa Hilliard. So here I'm sitting in the seat of the Bible Belt. And what are the odds that I would run into a portion in this book by Kaba Khamenei where he's talking about meeting Asa Hilliard in Broward County, and I'm sitting here in Broward County? What are the odds of that, family? United States, you know how big it is, and the world, how big it is? What are the odds of that? See, and I'm not getting superstitious. I'm not getting into this, I don't do conspiracy. I don't do superstition. But you got to look at that, family. And by the way, I don't know if I mentioned to you, when I lived in the Bronx, in Co-op City, in the Northeast Bronx, Professor Kaba lived in a building right next to me, and I never knew it until after I moved down here and I saw some of his videos. I saw the plane go by, and I knew what that looked. I saw the structure of his apartment, and I knew he was in Co-op City. I don't know where he is in Co-op City, but the fact that a plane went by his window means he was in my section, because I lived in Section 5, and that is the only place that was near LaGuardia Airport where the planes come in. And the planes just fly right by my building. My building was the last building on the end facing the Throgs Neck Bridge and the Atlantic Ocean facing east. Coincidence though, family. It's strictly coincidence. I'm not reading anything into it. I'm just telling you what the reality of what's been happening to me, family. I lived in that apartment for nearly 30 years, and I never knew that Professor Kaba was living right next to me until I saw his YouTube. Okay, and I had the honor of knowing and working alongside Dr. Asa Hilliard in the Broward County Public School System in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And by the way, I live in Pompano Beach, which is 10 miles from Fort Lauderdale. Just a coincidence. Just a coincidence, right? Our responsibility was to assist in the development and infusion of an African-American curriculum for grades pre-K through high school. Throughout our many hours of preparation, I learned a great deal of educational psychology from Nana Bafwa, who is Asa Hilliard's traditional name, okay? And he says here, our relationship, and I pay homage to his genius. And he goes on to explain, he stated his views of the outcomes of spiritual education in his book, African Power. And he goes on to cite some different things here. So I covered 2 books here today, family. 2 books. All right. And I'll come with another movie, and we'll start going through these books and critically thinking and analyzing a lot of the data that our scholars have been providing for over 50 or 60 years. I've been studying for 45 years. Baba Kaba Kameni has been studying for 10, 15 years before that. Okay. Baba Michael Imhotep on the African History Network channel, he studied under Dr. Leonard Jeffries like I did, and Professor James Smalls. And I never met Michael Imhotep, but we have studied under the same people. So we're all over the place. We are your scholars. We are doing the detailed work for you. All you have to do is turn on YouTube and watch the movies and just absorb the knowledge of your great, phenomenal history, of your work that you have come back again and again and again and again and brought to this world to make it as great as it is. Elon Musk, the great engineer, the aeronautic astro engineer, mechanical engineer, self-taught basically, with a photographic memory and all of that came with his person. And he has taken the lemons of his trauma of being brutalized and teased and bullied because of his genius, and brutalized by his father, okay, for years, decades, okay? All of the things that he's learned about astrology and astronomy and rocket science and all of this technology and engineering, he is just an evolved spiritual being that happened to come into the human form of a European. That doesn't make him bad just because he's in a mutated African form that they call European. That make him a bad person by no stretch. And I'm not buying into any racist, white supremacist nonsense. I'm not going to be a black supremacist. I'm not telling you these things to make myself look like some kind of black supremacist. I'm not into that at all. But the brutality that has been waged against my form, my African form, that has blessed this world with every technology and science that exists to this day. Everything everybody uses is a offshoot or an improvement of what my ancestors have brought in to make this world better. Okay. And we worked for 450 years in America for free. And so we need to follow get the history together and tally up the bill that is owed. Okay. And we're going to get paid. And that's what the filthy Confederates, GOP, Republican Party, that's what they're terrified of. That's why they're trying to get in here and jack up the elections, because at the end of everything, they're terrified they're going to have to pay their way for all of the free 450 years of labor that they got from my ancestors, and they never paid us. We can't have that. We're going to get paid, family. Just get ready for that. We're going to get paid. I'm not giving up on none of that. Okay. I think that's about it for this session. I'm not going to hit you with anything else. Okay. I hope this has been insightful and informative, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care. One love, family.